Since the commotion broke out at the Croyle Hotel, the two elders of the Y family lost all interest in staying any longer. They hurriedly packed their bags and rushed to the first hospital in Maduo. After several hours of scans, MRIs, blood tests, and even examining every strand of hair, the results finally came in. The doctor looked at the test results and frowned. Well, we've had a problem here. There's a neurotoxin in your blood. This toxin is very advanced. Mild symptoms include dizziness and shaking limbs, while severe cases can result in immediate death. Luckily, we caught it in time. If not, you too wouldn't be here listening to me explain this right now. For Wang Xian, this news felt like a bolt from the blue. Looking at the test results, he felt his mind go blank. He didn't know how to process this information. It was like being hit with a sledgehammer straight to the head, knocking all his thoughts into a chaotic mess. As for Wai Zerling, her emotions were all over the place, like running through the four seasons in a second. In spring, she hoped that Sha Yun was innocent. In the scorching heat of summer, she wanted to find someone to demand answers. In the autumn, she doubted everything she had known about life. And in winter, a chill ran down her spine when she considered the truth. Grandpa, does this mean you weren't just affected by the wind, but actually poisoned? Could it be that we blamed Shen Yuan unjustly? Maybe Sha Yun was the one who had everything planned all along. Wang Xiang wasn't much better off, letting out a deep sigh as he said, "Yeah, I didn't expect a disciple of Master Bai Chen to play dirty like this." Wai Zerling, feeling furious, immediately grabbed her phone and called Shi Yun. "Ha, I need to get to the bottom of this. Why on earth did Xia Yun have to deceive me? I really thought of him as a hero, but it turns out he's just a lowlife." But life is rarely as we imagine, and all she got was a cold, impersonal female voice on the other end. "The number you've dialed is not reachable at the moment. Please try again later." Frozen for a moment, Wai Zerling stared at her phone. Not reachable? He must be guilty. Maybe he's already run off, vanished without a trace. Wai Zerling felt like the whole world was crashing down on her. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got, and the angrier she became, the more she realized how foolish she had been. To make matters worse, she felt a wave of shame that was almost unbearable. The one person she had trusted completely, the image of someone honest and upright like Shi Yun, was now being suspected of being the mastermind behind the poisoning. Meanwhile, the person she had always considered nothing more than trash and good for nothing turned out to be the one who had been wronged. "Grandpa, I really did wrongly accuse a good person. I want to apologize to Shen Yuan, but I heard he was blown up and killed by the river. Does that mean I'll never get the chance to say I'm sorry?" The more she spoke, the heavier her heart became. A guilt she had never felt before surged up like an overwhelming wave, tightly wrapping around her mind. Then she cried even harder, burying her face in her hands, feeling like she was the greatest sinner in history. "Grandpa, I killed Shen Yun. Asterisk, Wu? Asterisk, I cursed him. I only thought it in my head, and it was like the heavens heard me and took it too seriously. He really died because of me." Wai Xiang looked at his granddaughter with a mix of sympathy and amusement. "Kid, everyone makes mistakes in life. What's important is recognizing when you're wrong and changing. We did wrong by Chen Yuan, so we should apologize to him. But his being hunted down has nothing to do with you." Wai Zerling shook her head frantically, tears streaming down her face. "No, it's because of the curse. I cursed him to die. He really was killed by someone. If I hadn't thought like that, maybe he'd still be alive." As Wai Zerling was drowning in guilt, even preparing to write a long 8-page reflection to mourn Shen Yuan, a kind nurse approached and comforted her. "Miss, are you a fan of Lim Yum Wong? The news just cleared everything up. Lim Yum Wong isn't dead. He's doing fine. I heard that just an hour ago he was spotted at the Royal Hotel, and the paparazzi even took pictures." After hearing this, Wai Zerling froze in shock. "Really? Shen Yuan isn't dead. Then who was the person who exploded on the river?" The doctor shrugged and said in a casual tone, "The police haven't figured that part out yet. But they've been pulling out bodies all morning and still haven't found anything. The main reason is the explosion was so intense. A dozen rockets hit at once, and it even caused the riverbank to collapse. Fish in the river were blown up in groups, so don't even ask about finding human bodies. Now getting DNA to identify anyone is going to be tough, so this case is turning into a real puzzle." When Wai Zerling heard that, it felt like she had been pulled from hell to heaven in just 3 seconds. She had been dismissive at first, but after learning the truth, her opinion of Chen Yuan had shifted a little. Wai Zerling's favorite level went up by 10, Wai Zerling's favorite level went up by 10, Wai Zerling's favorite level went up by 10, but her current favorite level was still at -30. Honestly, Wai Zerling still really disliked Chen Yuan. He might be a good person, but being good didn't mean he wasn't a player. "I won't forgive so easily," she said. Over on Chen Yuan's side, he raised an eyebrow, puzzled. "What's this?" This white girl suddenly increases her favorability by 30 points. Could it be that after Mr. Y's health check, he finally sees through Xia Yun's true colors? Muttering to himself, Chen Yuan suddenly remembered an important detail. Wait a minute, I still haven't seen Xia Yun at all. His brows furrowed as a feeling of unease settled in. Thinking back to the surveillance video he just watched, his mind began to piece things together. The person who impersonated me before being chased had a really strange move. He grabbed a small knife from the dining table and quickly walked toward Mr. Y, who was still having breakfast. Then what was he planning to do? Was he going to stab the old man? As he thought this through, a theory quickly formed in Chen Yuan's mind. This person intended to kill Mr. Y. If Mr. Wei were killed right in front of so many people, who would be the first suspect? Obviously, it would be me. All right, now I get it. This person wasn't just impersonating me for fun. He was trying to frame me. Damn, wait a second. Could the person pretending to be me actually be Xia Yun? He knows medicine, is good at disguises, has a shady background, is skilled in martial arts, and is deadly accurate with his needles. He has a clear motive. If Mr. Y's blood is found to be poisoned today, who would be the prime suspect? Obviously, it would be the disciple of the king of medicine, Xia Yun. So what would he do to protect his reputation? Right, he'd silence Mr. Y, as silencing him wouldn't be enough. He'd have to drag me into it too. One stone, two birds. It's just too convenient. Shit, this guy is really dangerous. But the person named Xia Yun really has terrible luck. She thought her plan was perfect, but it ended up tangled with a hornet's nest in the darknet. Now, who knows where her life is headed? Alright then, this darknet group clearly hasn't learned their lesson yet. Well, let me help them cry a good loud cry. With that, Chen Yuan gritted his teeth, his hands already on the keyboard. This time, the hunt isn't just some random individuals, it's a full-on attack on 107 big names in the darknet. To put it simply, the entire leadership council, from top to bottom, no one's getting left out. He went through each name, marking each face and posting them on the bounty board. The smallest time targets had a bounty of 100,000 shadow coins, which is roughly $37 million. The high-level core members were valued at 300,000 shadow coins. Then, Mr. X Chen Yuan set a sky-high price for himself, made his 5 million shadow coins, or around $300 million. In an instant, the entire assassin world was shaken. Some were just watching, curious to see how this would play out, but many cold-blooded players saw the easy money and jumped in without hesitation. So when Chen Yuan put up the mission, less than 12 hours later, 5 big players from the darknet had been sent to the afterlife. Naturally, the assassins who took on the jobs walked away with their bounties, thrilled as if they'd just received a year-end bonus. But unlucky for most of the high-level leaders targeted, they were mostly anonymous figures, appearing like regular people on the outside, but with a lot of money. The missions were simple, really, almost like picking up loose change on the street. The entire leadership group was wiped out in the blink of an eye. In just 3 days, 107 key figures from the darknet were nearly all eliminated, leaving no one behind. The only one who survived was Mr. X. He wasn't someone easy to track down because, for as long as anyone could remember, he always appeared wearing a mask. No one knew his true face. Even the key figures in the darknet had never seen what he really looked like. This made it impossible for the group of assassins to identify their target, no matter how hard they searched. While hunting him down, the assassins even joked, "How can we kill someone when we don't even know what they look like?" And that's exactly why, amidst this bloody chaos, Mr. X was still alive. After narrowly escaping death, Mr. X was furious, his eyes flashing with anger as he cursed to himself. Chen Yuan, if you dare wipe out the darknet, the White House, CIA, FBI, and Pentagon won't let you get away with it. You're done for this time. No matter how it turns out, one thing was certain. Chen Yuan had officially become a target for the whole world, and the largest manhunt in history was about to begin. During a routine patrol along the Royal City riverbank, Officer Madu of the police force unexpectedly came across a damaged but still usable bra. At first, the officers thought it was just trash, but when they picked it up and examined it, they were all shocked, wide-eyed, and gaping in disbelief as if they had just discovered a priceless treasure. The bra looked ordinary at first glance, but when touched, it felt as soft as cotton. However, it was also as tough as concrete. Sharp knives couldn't cut it, flames couldn't burn it, and even bullets from an AK-47 wouldn't leave a scratch. What's more, it had a unique feature. It could automatically shrink upon impact, creating a protective layer stronger than a regular bulletproof vest. But what was most striking was its connection to Chen Yuan. Everyone remembered the incident when Chen Yuan had been shot with an AK-47 and walked away without a scratch. Faced with this situation, Officer Madu wasn't sure how to handle it properly. Such a valuable item could be confiscated. After reviewing the cameras, they realized that the owner of the bra was none other than Lim Yong-won. So, after gathering all the necessary samples and data, the police had no choice but to return the item to its rightful owner, not daring to keep it for even a second. The next morning, before the sun had even risen, Kan Ge-eon was summoned by Chen Yuan to the house for the unveiling of Prosperity's legendary product. The Battle Royale shooting game already had a set model. All that was needed was to copy and upgrade it. For Prosperity, this was as easy as pie. In the blink of an eye, following Shen Yuan's instructions, Prosperity had transformed it into an ultra-premium version. When Kan Ge-eon arrived at the villa, he didn't even have time to ask about the Royal City incident. Chen Yuan went straight to the point. I want to create a game development department. The game is already ready. Now we just need you guys to handle the promotion. Kan Ge-eon replied confidently. I thought it would be something tough, but this is our specialty at Superstar. Leave it to me, we'll make it explode. Can you show me what the game is? Chen Yuan pulled out of his phone and opened the game. It's a survival shooting game, the ultimate version of Battle Royale. Here, take a look. What makes this game special is that it can accommodate 1,000 players fighting on the battlefield at the same time. Kan Ge-eon couldn't hide his surprise after hearing this. A 1,000 player shooting game that was truly beyond imagination. Up until now, most games of this type only supported up to 100 or 150 players at most. But for Chen Yuan, nothing was impossible. After a moment of contemplation, Kan Ge-eon furrowed his brow and asked a crucial question. Right now, in the gaming world, QQ Corporation is firmly seated on the throne, and its competitors are like grains of sand in a desert, scattered and insignificant. If we try to break into this world already dominated by QQ, hoping to rise up and promote ourselves the usual way, we'll just get lost in the crowd. While Kan Ge-eon was still mulling things over, Chen Yuan quickly came up with a bold plan. If expanding seems too hard, we can always do a giveaway. Hold a 1,000 player battle royale and the winner gets a $1,000 prize. Without a doubt, this was the fastest and most direct path to dominate the survival games market. Kan Ge-eon's face no longer looked just stunned. It now seemed like his soul had left his body. What? All this time, he'd been grinding games to rank up, to show off his achievements, to brag with his friends. But now there's a game where you not only grind points, but also earn pocket money. At this rate, if the number of players reaches tens of millions, every minute that passes would be like burning through a mountain of money. Just as Kan Ge-eon was lost in his thoughts, his mind drifting out into the universe, the doorbell rang loudly, almost like someone was coming to collect a debt. Huh, what's going on? Chen Yuan opened the door, his voice calmed, showing no signs of stress. Is there something you need from me? The police captain stepped forward, speaking in a relaxed tone. Hello, Lim Young-won. We're here to return some items. Chen Yuan took the bag from the officer, his eyes full of suspicion. Oh, what's this? Could it be another prank from Shi Yun? The attempted murder of Mr. Y isn't even settled yet, and now I'm supposed to be hit with another bucket of piss on my head? Before Chen Yuan could respond, the police captain added, after measuring, inspecting, and analyzing every single thread, we've concluded that this isn't something that can be mass-produced. The materials used to make it are too rare. The manufacturing process is certainly at top-secret classified level. The value of this shirt is worth 10 times more than a villa in Madudo, and even with money, you still might not be able to buy one. And the police have no authority to keep this badass bulletproof vest. If it belongs to Lim Young-won, we have to return it, of course. Seeing how eager the police were, Chen Yuan decided to accept it for now and figure it out later. Okay, thanks. But hold on, there's more. Without warning, the police captain dropped a huge bomb on Chen Yuan. Oh, by the way, I need to let you know something. A Porsche 911 owner just reported that you stole his car, and now the vehicle is badly damaged. Based on our investigation, we understand that the situation at the time was pretty urgent, but even so, car theft in the middle of the street crosses into criminal law territory. So, in my opinion, you should contact the car owner to negotiate and make sure you pay for the damages. At this moment, Chen Yuan was completely stunned, not because of the compensation issue, but because he couldn't remember when he had caused this Porsche 911 incident. His brain was working faster than a high-end processor, desperately trying to recall what exactly he had done to get involved in this mess. No matter how hard he tried to remember, one undeniable truth was right in front of him. Someone had accused him of stealing a supercar, and now that supercar was nothing but a pile of scrap metal. But after thinking it over, he realized arguing wouldn't do any good, so he decided to deal with it quickly and move on. So Chen Yuan cleverly said, I did mean to steal it. I just borrowed it for a bit, and well, turned it into a pile of scrap by accident. Don't worry, officers, I'll get in touch with the owner to sort this out. After the police left, Chen Yuan, curious, decided to try on the shirt and see what was so special about it. After checking himself out of the mirror for a while, he muttered, almost like he was rapping, This world is really strange. Even bra can cost 10 times more than a luxury mansion in Maduo. And in that very moment, a dramatic voice echoed in Chen Yun's mind. Ting. System detects rare item. Thien Tam Bao armor. Huh? Thien Tam Bao armor? What kind of RPG is this? But before he could even wonder, the item's attributes appeared clearly in front of him. Defensive item. Adds 100 to defense. When worn, it enhances defensive abilities, protects weak points, and can even stop sniper bullets. Chen Yuan was stunned, his eyes wide with excitement as if he had just struck gold. Holy shit, is this a gift from the universe or something? I can't believe in this messed up situation, this crazy powerful gear just pops up. He quickly grabbed the armor, his excitement building as he thought to himself, could it be that Sha Yun, the guy who keeps falling flat, but somehow survives everything, even taking a full clip of bullets and still grinning, might have been using this armor? Damn it, I only just got this top tier equipment now. I really have nothing going for me. No connections, no backup, just money. Look at Sha Yun, not only does he have a mysterious master called the King of Medicine, but he's also holding onto a pile of high-end items. Life really isn't fair, but if you think about it, today is actually a lucky day. He's getting a Porsche 911 as compensation, but in exchange, he's getting a Thien Tam Bao armor. When you look at it, he's still making out like a bandit. At that moment, at Maduo Airport, a private jet silently landed after a long flight from Las Vegas. Among the busy crowd, a stunning woman appeared, causing the entire airport to pause for a few seconds. No one else but the flight attendant Xiao Lai. In Las Vegas, people don't call her a flight attendant. They call her Mrs. God of Gamblers, the second wife of the world's #1 god of gamblers, Huang Batian. Just hearing her name makes people tremble in respect. But Xiao Lai is not just the wife of the god of gamblers. She's also the official spokesperson for this powerful man. As a woman, she has the same authority as a big boss. With a simple wave of her hand, thousands of subordinates are ready to carry out her orders. In Las Vegas, when it comes to power, you can't talk about it without mentioning Xiao Lai. She controls 30 casinos, 55-star hotels, 6 7-star hotels in Dubai, 3 stock companies, 12 factories, and 3 international luxury brands. In Las Vegas, Xiao Lai only needs to call out, and even the governor has to sit up straight to meet with her. Every time she goes out, she's surrounded by bodyguards dressed in black, with a convoy of cars escorting her, making it look just like a head of state on the move. Right now, Xiao Lai has just stepped out of Hongqiao Airport in Maduo, feeling a little nostalgic. This place used to be my destination, but now, looking around, everything feels slightly unfamiliar, as if I've stepped into a different world. It's not because the scenery has changed, but because my perspective has shifted. While Xiao Li is lost in thought, her boyfriend of Tao has been waiting outside the airport for a while. He's driving a shiny Maserati, his face full of confidence. The moment he spots Xiao Li, a Tao rushes over like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey, arms wide open, ready to give her a big hug. Lai, you're finally back. Why did this business trip take so long? But in response, all he got was a light push from Xiao Lai, along with a tone that was neither warm nor cold, but enough for a Tao to realize something was off. You shouldn't act like this. It's too crowded at the airport. A Tao's face stiffened a bit, feeling a slight sting. Oh, what's going on with her? She's never acted like this before. But he didn't dwell on it for long and quickly shifted focus to showing off. Lai, I'm so glad you're back. Look, I just bought a new car, a Maserati Quattroporte, the high-end model, worth $300,000. He thought this would be the knockout punch that would make Xiao Lai feel touched and throw herself into his arms right away. But Xiao Lai responded with just one word. Oh. And that was it. No more emotion. No sparkling eyes, no surprise, no jumping up in excitement, just a cold, indifferent oh. Even when they got into the car, Xiao Li's face showed a hint of disappointment. A Tao had no idea. My worldview has changed completely. If it were before, I would have definitely hugged him tightly, showered him with compliments, and then we'd talk about going out tonight to wander the streets and watch a movie. But now, after all the ups and downs, the twists and turns in Las Vegas, my perspective has expanded far beyond that. A Maserati? Please, if you drop a Bugatti in front of me right now, I'd just yawn and go back to scrolling on my phone. Seeing Xiao Li's cold expression, Tao felt a little embarrassed. Today, Xiao Lai looked especially beautiful, with an aura that was different from before. She no longer seemed like the sweet, cute girl she used to be. Instead, she carried a certain elegance as if she had stepped into an entirely different class. This only made me more captivated, as if I was about to win over a noble lady, not just a girlfriend. It made sense, though. Maybe it was because we hadn't seen each other for so long, so a little coldness didn't matter. With that thought, the fire of passion in a Tao flared up again, and he was determined not to give up. He regained his confidence and said excitedly, Lai, I got the movie tickets. Let's go tonight. This movie is super popular, starring Lim Yum Wong and Gao Quan Yin. It's been making huge waves. I heard the box office has already hit 9 billion, and is probably going to hit 10 billion in just a few days. At first, Xiao Lai wasn't all that interested. Her mind was full of work, finances, casinos, and stocks. What's so special about watching a movie? But when I heard the name Lim Yum Wong, I suddenly felt motivated. For a long time, Xiao Lai had mentally dubbed herself Mrs. God of Gamblers, truly believing it. Chen Yuan could turn anything he did into something cosmic. So Xiao Lai nodded without hesitation, saying, all right, let's go watch the movie. With a press of the gas pedal, the two of them drove straight to the theater. But for some reason, as soon as they arrived at the entrance, Xiao Li's heart started to race. This guy is truly a monster. He wins $30 billion in poker and becomes the world's first god of gamblers. Now he's switching to making movies. When people talk about being the king of cinema, they're referring to years of hard work, starring in a bunch of hit films to earn that title. But Chen Yuan, he made just one movie and immediately became a king. Is there even room for anyone else? But even with 10 billion or 20 billion, it would make a dent in Shen Yuan's total net worth of billions. This kind of fame was just an extra decoration for him. It didn't impact his wealth at all. The luckiest person here was Gao Quan Yin, who got the chance to rise from being in a legendary blockbuster film. The movie lasted 2 hours, and throughout that time, Xiao Lai was completely immersed in every intense action scene with Chen Yuan. At one point, she suddenly felt her nose clog up, her eyes grew hot, and before she knew it, tears were rolling down her cheeks. The more she watched, the stronger her emotions became. By God, I've fallen in love with the boss. Is this what it feels like to love someone so deeply? I'd give up everything for him, even if I end up with nothing. But Atao is really great, and his situation is good too. But I just don't like him. Thinking about this, Xiao Lai glanced at Atao, sighed a little, and suddenly a terrifying thought crossed her mind. Honestly, I don't want to hurt him. But after meeting him again this time, I realized that I don't feel anything for him anymore. Maybe I never truly loved him. Maybe I should be honest and clear things up as soon as possible. Maybe I shouldn't keep lying to myself. Clear-headed Xiao Lai took a deep breath, turned to Atao, and said, Atao, let's break up. The moment the words left her mouth, Atao felt like he'd been struck by lightning on a clear day. His voice faltered and panic flooded his heart. What? What's going on? Why? Did I do something wrong? I admit I've been busy with work lately because you've been away on business and I haven't been able to pay as much attention to you, but I have my own job too. You need to understand that. So why all of a sudden do you want to break up? Xiao Lai furtively walked out of the movie theater, responding briefly, you didn't do anything wrong. I just don't love you anymore. That's it. I'm leaving. Atao was completely crushed by her words. Tears welled up in his eyes, a love that had ended in the time it took to watch a movie. In another movie theater, in a more luxurious version, Wai Xiaoling watched with her eyes as red as tomatoes, her voice choked with emotion. Grandpa, I can't believe it. Chen Yuan, that flirt, can act so deeply, so emotionally, and really touch my heart. He must have gone through a love that left a deep mark on him. How else could he portray such painful emotions so perfectly? Could it be that Chen Yuan has also been heartbroken before? Just then, a middle-aged butler hurriedly entered, his voice calm but urgent. Sir, Mr. Bai Chen has left the mountain. As soon as the words were out, Mr. Wai, who had been as calm as drifting clouds, suddenly jolted in shock. What? Mr. Bai Chen is really leaving the mountain? The news that Mr. Bai Chen was about to leave the mountain sent a shock through Mr. Wai. He trembled, his words stumbling out as if his blood sugar had dropped. This could mean a huge storm is coming. The butler standing nearby answered, his face as tight as a stretched string. That's right, sir. This is confidential information from the Chen family. In a few days, Mr. Bai Chen will be heading to Manhua. Not only that, but they've even sent out an announcement, practically telling the whole world about it. This information just came out, and the whole Manhua situation went crazy, like a beehive disturbed. Powerful families from the north to the south were all in a panic, restless and uneasy. No one wanted to miss out on this big event. In Taiyuan, the Ma family is involved, and in Guangzhou, the Ha family is also rushing to mobilize. In Shenzhen, the Zhang family is in chaos, and even the capital is buzzing with excitement. The Jiang family, the Liu family, the Xi family. These prominent families are all moving almost in unison, preparing to roll out the red carpet for Mr. Bai Chen, who's arriving in his natural state. While Mr. Wei was talking, Wai Xiaoling sat beside him with a blank expression on his face. Grandpa, who is this Mr. Bai Chen? Why does everyone seem like they're about to be a god, but I've never even heard of him? Mr. Wei took a deep breath, his eyes distant. This new generation, you remember all the viral trends online, but you don't care about these real legendary figures. I remember back when Mr. Bai Chen was dominating the world, I was just a kid who'd skip naps to play marbles. Now here I am, half in the grave, while Mr. Bai Chen is still standing tall, not aging at all. Honestly, this is harder to believe than the story of Sun Wukong not having a household registration in Flower Fruit Mountain. Wai Zilling's heart stirred with excitement as she listened, her eyes blinking rapidly, her mind racing with questions. What? Could it be someone practicing immortality? Mr. Wei continued, his voice full of reverence. They say the Medicine King is someone who can cure all ailments, even those that doctors can't fix. He always knows a way to help. Not only that, but he can even extend people's lives. If you're lucky enough to beat the Medicine King, it's like hitting the jackpot. You live an extra 10 years free from illness with the strength of an ox. They say that every 20 years, Bai Chen, the Medicine King, comes down from the mountain to find someone with a special destiny. He teaches them his medical skills and gathers rare herbs for the Medicine King's valley. Anyone chosen by him is destined for a life-changing transformation. Their family will rise to greatness, and it's nearly impossible not to become wealthy. Lately, science and technology have been advancing so quickly, and medicine keeps improving at an incredible rate. News spreads faster than ever, so this legend has gradually faded into the past, and not many people remember it anymore. Only the old powerful families, those who witnessed the greatness of Mr. Bai Chen, truly understand how extraordinary he was. Mr. Bai Chen is definitely a top-tier figure in legend, a mysterious, legendary character who seems unbelievable at first, but his existence is undeniable, making it impossible not to admire him. It's like how the dragon in the Chinese zodiac is labeled as mythical. No one has ever seen one in person, yet it's still placed alongside the other zodiac animals. After listening to her grandfather for a while, Wai Xiling was still upset. She pouted and asked, "But Grandpa, was Mr. Bai Chen really a good person?" A master is only as good as their disciple, and that disciple, Shi Yun, was so devious. He poisoned you and then pretended to be the hero who saved you. Isn't that just a trap? I bet his master wasn't much better either. When Mr. Wei heard his granddaughter's words, his face turned serious and his tone became sharp. You can't speak like that. Mr. Bai Chen is a highly respected and virtuous master. How could you compare him to someone like Shi Yun, a petty person? It's one thing to say this at home, but if outsiders hear you, it can bring trouble to our family. You could cause harm to the Wei family. Wai Xiling, hearing this, pretended to be completely innocent. All right then, Grandpa, I won't mention it again, but I was planning to invite Chen Yuan to a meal and maybe buy him a small gift to make up for things. Oh wait, Grandpa, how am I supposed to contact Chen Yuan now? I don't even have his WeChat. This question made Mr. Wei pause for a moment, but he quickly came up with a solution. Here's what we'll do. I'll have Mr. Qin make a call and ask his niece to help connect us. She probably has Chen Yuan's number. As soon as the call was connected, Qin Ti and Fang immediately spoke up in a cheerful tone. Hey, Mr. Wei, have you got the results yet? I was just about to call you. Mr. Wei cleared his throat and replied slowly. The test results are in. There are traces of nerve toxins in my blood. To be sure, I've double-checked a few times. There's absolutely no way it was a wind stroke. Shi Yun really played dirty. To win favor with the Wei family, he stooped to such a low trick. Qin Ti and Fang fell silent for a few seconds after hearing that. Just this morning, I received a summons from Mr. Bai Chen. The letter mentioned that Shi Yun had learned 3 parts of the true medical teachings and was now traveling to experience the world in order to calm his mind and refine his character. Mr. Bai Chen also asked the Qin family to look after him during this time. It sounded reasonable at first, but now that I think about it, something seems really off. Shi Yun is supposed to be refining his character. A person who, right after entering the mortal world, secretly poisons others just to look like a miraculous healer saving people. It's a trick that's both sneaky and despicable. If this is what refining one's character looks like, then no one on earth is truly evil anymore. Now I've been assigned the task of keeping an eye on someone like this. How exactly am I supposed to watch over him? Am I supposed to wake him up, offer him tea, take him for a walk in the park at noon, and in the afternoon, pat his head and teach him about being a good person? How can I possibly tolerate and house someone like this? Mr. Wei, sensing the situation was a bit tricky, spoke up to calm things down. Mr. Qin, there's no need to be so tense. I didn't call you to argue. I just wanted to ask for Chen Yuan's number. My granddaughter said something a bit too much the other day, and she wants to apologize properly. Qin Ti and Fang on the other side was understanding and quickly responded, all right, I'll send you Wu Shuang's number. Let Xiling contact him. He should have a way to connect with Chen Yuan. Meanwhile, Chen Yuan was lost in thought when his phone suddenly vibrated. Looking at the screen, he saw it was Kim Jisoo calling. He answered the phone, and before he could say anything, Kim Jisoo launched into a long, tired rant. Hey, Chen Yuan, we have a big problem. QQ is making a move on Mulan TV. I just found out about it. It turned out that for some time, QQ had been secretly reaching out to over 10 top streamers from Mulan TV, quietly signing contracts and getting ready to bring them over to their platform. They've been sneaking around, transferring them like this, and I had no idea. Do you know how it feels to raise a bunch of chickens only to have them run off to another coop when it's time to harvest? After hearing this, Chen Yuan replied calmly without a hint of tension or panic. There's no rush, they're just a few amateur streamers. Just file a lawsuit against them and demand compensation. They signed a contract, so they have to take responsibility. Anyone who breaks the rules needs to pay the full amount. As for the online drama, don't explain or defend yourself. Just let people say whatever they want. Then donate 100 million worth of supplies to the disaster area and publicly announce that all the contract compensation from those treacherous streamers will be donated to help the people. Kim Jisoo nodded repeatedly as she listened. Yes, I'll take care of it right away. Afterward, Kim Jisoo's mind settled down, and she was even a bit impressed. Chen Yuan was really playing this game at a whole new level. This move not only allowed Big Cat TV to restore its reputation almost magically, but it also trapped those streamers in a position where they couldn't fight back. Think about it. They just broke their contract, got sued, and now the money they owe is being used for charity. If they protest, they're opposing charity. If they refuse to pay, they're taking away the opportunity to help people in need. Public opinion will turn against them on its own. Meanwhile, Big Cat TV will naturally come across as a responsible company that cares about society. Sure enough, Chen Yuan would always be the unwavering pillar in my heart. With him here, nothing, not even the sky falling down, could ever bring me down. Kim Jisoo thought about this and suddenly realized that all her worry earlier had been unnecessary. At that moment, Chen Yuan started to sense something was wrong. Why are all my businesses suddenly facing issues at the same time? Clearly, someone is targeting me. And what's more troubling, it's not just one force behind his attack. Just then, the news on TV broke another shocking story. It was terrifying. A female patient who had undergone facial surgery and used a miracle scar-removing product ended up with severe tissue necrosis, her face completely ruined. Unable to cope with the shock, she jumped out of a window. The police have launched an investigation, and the company producing the scar cream, headed by Yang Weibai, has officially stated that their product is safe. However, this explanation has been rejected by the public, and the company is now facing a storm of criticism. Upon seeing the news, Chen Yuan's expression darkened. Before, I just felt like someone was targeting me, but now there's no need to guess anymore. It's clear that someone is playing dirty and doing it so blatantly without even trying to hide it. I could have found some amusement in a more subtle smear, but this is just inhumane. I can't accept it. If an ordinary person were in this situation, they'd definitely be pushed to the brink of madness, forced to make a series of rushed decisions. One small mistake and their entire empire would come crashing down. But the thing is, I'm not an ordinary person. So they want to drag me down. Fine, then let's see who gets thrown into the water first. At the same time, at the Bulgaria Hotel, one of the most luxurious places, the atmosphere in the Grand Hall was extremely tense. A group of the most powerful figures in the world sat together, but not to discuss business cooperation. They were having a secret meeting to deal with one person. I already spent a lot of money to bribe those in power. Once the media gets involved, we need to blow this thing wide open. There's no way we can let that Chen Yuan rise again. If this works, he'll never get another chance to come back to the underworld. Another person chimed in. That's right. Chen Yuan has risen as quickly as a storm, building a massive financial empire in just 6 months. But the higher he climbs, the harder he falls. He's moving so fast, it's like he's constructing a skyscraper without a solid foundation. All it takes is a light push from someone, and the whole thing will come crashing down. Among the people here, there's one special figure, Samsung's heir Park Jung-jae. He glanced around the room, almost wanting to laugh, but he held himself back. It wasn't out of amusement, it was pure surprise. What on earth had Chen Yuan done to make so many powerful figures want to drag him down all at once? These were just a couple of ordinary enemies. If the list of people in this room got leaked, the entire global financial market would shake. Everyone here had a reputation, everyone was influential, and everyone was eager to take Chen Yuan down. Hongzan Capital, a powerful group of moguls with an incredibly vast influence, isn't just about business. They also control politics and law. The Mitsui Financial Group, one of Japan's massive financial empires, is involved in everything from banking to real estate, from healthcare to technology. The Rockefeller Group, a name that alone is enough to send chills down your spine. This long-established dynasty controls a multitude of critical industries in the U.S. Morgan, a financial group and one of the banking giants with trillions of dollars in its grasp, can shake the financial market with just a snap of its fingers. But here, these people don't just want to defeat Chen Yuan in business, they want to completely erase him from the business world. No negotiations, no compromises, only destruction. Park Jung-jae was still processing this information, feeling a bit confused. In business, it's one thing, but why would so many major forces hate Chen Yuan so much? At this point, Park Jung-jae's gaze shifted to Morgan Tina, and he couldn't help but ask, "Miss Morgan, I heard your financial group mainly focuses on banking. Why are you getting involved in a battle with Chen Yuan? Aren't the two sides completely unrelated?" Tina sat there with a cold, expressionless face, her flawless white skin glowing, exuding an aura that was impossible to ignore. Then, she made a statement that immediately silenced everyone around her. "Oh, this is easy to understand. Hyalongbokum Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Group has copied my research. I can't just ignore something like this. Anyone who messes up has to face the consequences." Her words, filled with sharp impact, immediately brought a sense of satisfaction to Park Jung-jae. Everyone knew the Morgan family wasn't just any ordinary family. They were part of the school organization and the mysterious bonds. If they were involved, it was clear that Chen Yuan was in real trouble. Well, it looks like Chen Yuan is really done for this time. I told you don't try to stand out too much. If you shine too brightly, you're bound to get crushed. Normally, offending one or two powerful people would already be bad luck. But Chen Yuan went and made a whole list, like a highway, angering QQ, Samsung, Hongzan Capital, and even pulling the Morgan family from across the ocean into the mess. Now, everything was set in motion. The wheels of fate were turning relentlessly and ahead, and it was only one inevitable outcome that everyone could see coming. Chen Yuan stood amidst the storm, her face as cold as stone, her mind unwavering. These people probably think that by pulling a few tricks and spreading some rumors, they can take me down, huh? You're all still too young and inexperienced. Underestimating me is a mistake, and when you make a mistake, I'll show you the price you'll have to pay. Prosperity, it's time. Get ready to carry out the mission. A voice filled with energy rang out from the screen. "Master, leave it to me. Any chicken that thinks it can fly is already out of time." Chen Yuan narrowed her eyes and spoke slowly. "First, infiltrate all platforms. QQ, WeChat, TikTok, Lai Yuya, Billy. If it's out there, get into it. Anything that can be scrolled through, get in there and take control. Next, wipe out all negative news about me. For those keyboard warriors who like to run their mouths and badmouth me, block them all. No matter if they're a hot streamer or top commenter, anyone talking trash gets blocked. The loudest ones, lock their accounts for 3 years. Finally, dig up all the dirty secrets of those at the top, bundle them into a shocking set of news, and push it across every forum for the whole world to see who's really the boss. Now, just wait. They'll be in for a nasty counterattack." Prosperity was filled with energy and determination. The orders had been received and everything was set into motion immediately. In an instant, Chen Yuan's entire fleet of high-end machines came online, ready to crush anyone who dared to stand in their way. On the vast expanse of the internet, the number of bloggers was as overwhelming as the Mongol army. From small-time bloggers with just a few thousand followers to powerful influencers with millions, everyone, no matter their size or position on social media, couldn't escape the harsh reality. No one can escape this. Everything was happening so fast. One moment, someone could be a well-known reviewer or gossip blogger, and the next, they were nothing more than a forgotten shadow. No one even remembered they had existed. Countless accounts were wiped out, and made-up rumors vanished in the blink of an eye. People were confused and scared, unsure of what was going on. At that moment, the door to the private meeting room in the Bulgarian hotel swung open. A frantic assistant rushed in, gasping for breath, her eyes wide with panic. "Boss, it's bad." On the platform, shocking information began to spread like wildfire. All the big CEOs, CDO Ma, CEO Long, CEO Huang, and CEO Liu had been exposed. Private messages, screenshots, and even personal videos were being shared everywhere. Some had their private chats with lovers leaked, while others had their secret dealings exposed. After hearing this, everyone was so shaken that their scalps began to tingle and sweat poured down as if they had just stepped out of a shower. "Quick, delete those videos right now. If they leak, we're done for." The assistant's face turned pale as he continued his report. "Boss, the problem is we can't delete them." It seemed like the system's video recommendations had been hacked, continuously pushing the videos up. It was almost impossible for anyone to avoid seeing them. The whole meeting room froze, and everyone stared wide-eyed at their phone screens. No way! Everything was locked down tight. There's no way anything that could cause trouble should have leaked. Sensitive messages? Delete them immediately. Dangerous videos? Cut them right away. But who would have thought that something we thought was deleted could still be recovered? And now, it's like the system is pulling things out wherever it pleases, whenever it wants. Park Jung-jat also stared at the screen, his mouth hanging open in disbelief at what was happening before his eyes. What? Why are all the accounts exposing this stuff gone? There has to be a reason for that. And what's with locking things for 3 years? What kind of security system lets a hacker slip through so easily? Are you guys just sitting around playing puzzles or what? While scandals were popping up everywhere like mushrooms after the rain, Chen Yuan remained calm, as if he were an outsider. He didn't care about the chaotic storm brewing on the internet. He simply furrowed his brows, thought for a moment, then picked up his phone and dialed Yang Weibai's number. Since the day Yang Weibai angrily left the mansion, this is the first time I've reached out to her. This time things are serious. She's been thrown into the center of all the criticism. Yet she hasn't complained once. Is she trying to seem strong, or does she want to carry the burden on her own? The phone kept ringing, and it took more than 30 seconds before someone finally picked up. Weibai, it's me. On the other end, Yang Weibai's voice was calm. Oh, Chen Yuan, what's up? I'm busy. Her response felt a little cold, as if she didn't care much about the call. But after hearing it, Chen Yuan couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. So he asked right away, what are you busy with? Yang Weibai simply replied, just some work. But Chen Yuan wasn't the type to let things slide easily. He pressed on. Weibai, are you okay? At this, Yang Weibai's voice stayed unusually calm. I'm fine, really. Everything's been fine. Why do you ask? Not wanting to drag it out, Chen Yuan just said, and hung up. But the matter didn't end there. He immediately gave an order. Prosperity, track the location of that call. Receiving the command, Prosperity immediately responded, yes, sir. Just a few seconds later, Prosperity pinpointed Chen Yuan's location about 30 meters away to the northeast. Chen Yuan was slightly shocked when he heard this. What? That close? He turned his head to look in that direction and realized the area was a luxury villa complex. A series of thoughts raced through his mind. Something's going on here, and it's definitely not normal. During this time, Yang Weibai had never left Manduo. Her heart was full of uncertainty, but she still stuck around. Over the past days, she had been hanging around Manduo, not by chance, but while searching for traces of Chen Yuan. After exhausting herself with countless questions and effort, she finally tracked down where he was staying. To get even closer to Chen Yuan, Yang Weibai took a bold step, offering 3 times the rent to the previous tenant and throwing in an extra $200,000 as a gratuity, just hoping they would leave quickly. For here, Yang Weibai could occasionally see Chen Yuan standing on the balcony, slowly sipping his coffee. Every time, she felt her heart calm down, as if she had achieved something grand. But things weren't always this peaceful. Facing the unexpected shower of bricks and stones, Yang Weibai was completely stunned. Just recently, Chen Yuan called me. It was a brief call, just a few words to check in before hanging up, but to me, it felt like a ray of sunshine breaking through the storm of life. But even that wasn't enough to ease the frustration and resentment building up inside me. No matter how chaotic my emotions were, I still tried to stay calm, maintaining the proud demeanor of a goddess, not letting any weakness show in front of Chen Yuan. I even wanted to see a Yang Weibai who had fallen apart, crying and defeated. I wanted to show that I could face everything on my own. No matter how fierce the storm, I wouldn't back down. But saying it is easy, doing it is hard. The moment Chen Yuan hung up, that strong mask of hers shattered instantly. Yang Weibai couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears flooded out like a broken dam as she cried uncontrollably. I can ignore thousands of hateful comments online. I can brush off threatening messages, but I can't stand Chen Yuan's coldness. He called me, which means he must have seen everything going on online. But then what? Just a few casual words before hanging up, not a single word of comfort, not even the slightest real concern. Being treated like a complete stranger hurts more than any insult from the crowd out there. Have I really become someone who doesn't matter to him anymore? If only I hadn't carelessly left my WeChat for Jung Yi that day. If I hadn't seen those movie tickets in Shen Yuan's bag, if back in high school, I had known that Shen Yuan was the one who took the beating for me, quietly protecting me from a distance. If just one of those things had been different, maybe he and I would have been together by now, with no third party getting in the way and no regrets today. But life doesn't have if-onlys. Once an opportunity is missed, it's gone for good. As Yang Weibai sank deeper into her frustration, she was startled by the sound of a doorbell ringing outside. The door swung open, and the person standing in front of Yang Weibai left her stunned, her lips trembling slightly. Chen Yuan, what are you doing here? Before she could finish her sentence, Chen Yuan pulled her into his arms, his gaze both teasing and slightly reproachful. You moved so close to my place and didn't even tell me. Flustered, Yang Weibai pushed him away, embarrassed and at a loss for words. She was about to come up with an excuse, but before she could even manage that, Chen Yuan's next words completely disarmed her. Kid, there's nothing that can't be fixed. No matter how much time passes or how much things change in my heart, you'll always be the goddess of my high school years. With that, he stepped forward and pulled her into his arms, without anyone needing to say anything. Chen Yuan kissed Yang Weibai deeply. In that moment, it was as if they became one, ignoring the chaos of the world outside. Feeling the warmth of being held by the person she had always longed for, Yang Weibai felt weak with emotion. She leaned against Chen Yuan, her eyes sparkling, her voice choked with emotion. Chen Yuan, I want to be with you. Even if we don't have a title, even if I can't marry you, I don't care. I just need you. I just want you by my side. The last words dissolved in the sound of tears, but they were stronger than any confession of love. The atmosphere in the room seemed to freeze for a moment. Chen Yuan felt a brief flicker of emotion in his heart, then gently patted her head and said, "Let me make you something to eat first. You must be really tired after everything you've been through recently." The meal was nothing fancy, just simple scrambled eggs with tomato fried rice, but it meant something special to Yang Weibai. She didn't know when it happened, but somehow, his place in her heart had rapidly risen to a level she hadn't expected. "Husband, you're so kind," she whispered. Before long, Yang Weibai drifted off to sleep without realizing it, but this was undoubtedly the best sleep she'd had since the online backlash. Cruel words rained down like a storm, each person throwing in their 2 cents, some adding fuel to the fire, turning her into a villain in the eyes of the world. Faced with the suffocating criticism and threats, her mind was in chaos, and it felt like being trapped in a dark, hopeless place. But after this sleep, Yang Weibai would no longer feel hopeless. The moment Chen Yuan helped Yang Weibai into bed, something unexpected happened. She tossed aside all the usual reasoning and decided to go all in. "Chen Yuan, I want to give myself to you." Chen Yuan froze, his hands still gently supporting Yang Weibai's waist, trembling slightly. The girl in his arms was fragile, yet unexpectedly intense, like a small breeze with enough force to blow away all his rationality. As if afraid that Chen Yuan might leave, Yang Weibai spoke her heart without hesitation or doubt. "Chen Yuan, all this time I've been nothing but a puppet, controlled by fate. My family made my choices, duty tied me down, and my mother treated me like a mindless pawn. But tonight, I want to make my own decision. Is that okay? Even if tomorrow I have to face all the consequences, even if I have to walk away from you, I don't mind. As long as tonight I belong to you, that's enough. If you think I'm rude or shameless, I'll accept it. If you think I'm foolish, I won't care. But Chen Yuan, there's one thing I know for sure. I love you." The last words Yang Weibai spoke were like a breath, yet they carried the weight of 1,000 pounds. In that moment, every ounce of Chen Yuan's logic was completely crushed. A man can resist thousands of enemies, but he cannot resist the one he loves, who is placing her whole heart in his hands. He lowered his head and gave Yang Weibai a deep kiss on her forehead. That night, the wind outside the window still blew, and the moonlight still shone down on the world, but neither of them cared about time anymore. The next morning, as Chen Yuan was making a sweet breakfast, his phone suddenly rang. The screen displayed the name Qin Wu Shuang, and every time this person called, there was always something going on, whether big or small, happy or frustrating. As soon as Chen Yuan answered, he heard Qin Wu Shuang's complaining voice on the other end. "Chen Yuan, where are you? You disappeared first thing in the morning. I went to your house, rang the doorbell so many times I thought my finger would break, but no one opened the door." Chen Yuan responded lazily, "What's up?" Kid Wu Shuang got straight to the point. "It's nothing serious. There's a girl from the Y family, Y Xiling, the granddaughter of your grandfather's good friend. She wants to invite us to dinner. This girl was just arguing in defense of that petty guy Shi Yun the other day, but she probably knows now who's actually trustworthy. She wants to apologize to you, sincerely regretful. I think it's fine, at least she's showing some thoughtfulness. Whether you forgive her or not is up to you, but it wouldn't hurt to meet her for the sake of politeness." After listening, Chen Yuan nodded and replied casually, "All right, I'll head over later." He hung up the phone and turned to look at Yang Weibai. "Weibai, you go ahead and eat. Don't worry about things outside. I have to step out for a bit." Yang Weibai was still happily eating, but the moment she saw the look in Chen Yuan's eyes, she knew something was up. "Who called you?" she asked. "You're already busy this early in the morning?" Chen Yuan smiled and said, "Just someone who wants to apologize. It's no big deal. I'll be back after a quick visit." Yang Weibai didn't ask further, but her gaze was full of meaning. Deep down, she thought to herself, "What do you mean someone just wants to apologize? That sounds suspicious. Who'd invite someone to a meal to apologize this early in the morning?" Although I felt a little reluctant deep down, I still tried to act casual, not wanting to make things harder for Chen Yuan. Since I took over the company and became the chairman, I've come to realize just how many challenges come with running a big business. Every day, as soon as I open my eyes, there are hundreds of things that need attention. Every minute that passes is money, and if things aren't handled well, many people will be affected. Chen Yuan doesn't just have one problem to worry about. He's got a mountain of issues piling up. He's not only dealing with the mess I caused, but also managing the work for the many companies under our umbrella. Sometimes the pressure on him is probably 10 times greater than mine, but he still makes time for me. He stays by my side all night and the mornings. He even cooks for me. That's what really touched me. If I were to ask for more right now, make a fuss or act weak, it would be like I didn't understand anything at all. Thinking about it, Yang Weibai happily picked up her spoon and started enjoying her breakfast in the most appreciative way possible. As she ate, she casually reached for her phone and unlocked the screen. But the moment her finger swiped up, the more she looked, the more something felt off. Just yesterday, social media was in chaos like a market in disarray. News sites and accounts of all sizes were dissecting the event where the magical fairy removed scars and turned customers into monsters. This topic even made it to the top trending searches on multiple social media platforms. But now, everything has completely disappeared, not a trace left. Not only did the posts about the incident vanish, but even the people who had criticized me the most, who had condemned me harshly, those bloggers with millions of followers, the accounts that had aggressively attacked me, had mysteriously had their accounts locked. Wait, where did everything go? What? Can someone please explain? Did someone come in and clean up for me? The more she thought about it, the more Yang Weibai felt that some force had stepped in to help. But who would have the power to manipulate social media like this? After thinking it through, only one name came to mind: Chen Yuan. As soon as this thought appeared, Yang Weibai immediately felt her heart tighten. A warm wave suddenly spread through her chest, and the corners of her mouth slightly curved up, her face glowing with a thoughtful, emotional expression. If it really is him, then how did he do it? Why did everyone suddenly stop scolding me overnight? Not believing her eyes, Yang Weibai hurriedly opened TikTok, QQ, Facebook, any platform where she could check information. But the result was the same. All the slanderous posts, all the negative comments, every account that used to spam hateful messages, everything had disappeared completely as if it had never existed. At this moment, Yang Weibai began to feel pampered and weak. Tears fell without her realizing, not from sadness, but from being deeply moved. Chen Yuan had never comforted her with sweet words, but his actions spoke far louder than words ever could. Even if Chen Yuan never marries me, I won't regret it. To have a soulmate like him in life, I wouldn't mind dying. And so, Chen Yuan not only restored Yang Weibai's trust, but also triggered her feelings to an explosive maximum level. Kang, the third system target, has officially reached the maximum level, awarding a full 10 to all attributes and an additional 50 enhancement points as a reward. While Yang Weibi was daydreaming, Chen Yuan, Qin Wu Shuang, and Wai Xiling were already seated at a traditional hot pot restaurant known for serving those who were both hungry and weary. But showing up for hot pot early in the morning was definitely a rather unusual style. As soon as Wai Xiling sat down, she slapped her chest with a confident thud, putting on an outgoing demeanor and speaking earnestly. "Mr. Shen Yuan, Sister Wu Shuang, I want to apologize for what happened last time. I honestly didn't expect She Yun to seem so gentle and honest on the outside, but behind our backs, he's such a coward. Today, I want to treat you both to this meal as an apology. Please eat as much as you like. This one's on me." Upon hearing this, Qin Wu Shuang blinked in surprise and curiously asked, "Little sister, do you not have much pocket money? You're supposed to be a young lady of the wealthy Wai family, and yet you're inviting us to a hot pot breakfast? I thought your family wasn't poor. Why so stingy?" Wai Xiling confidently patted her chest and said, "I'm the young lady of the Wai family. My monthly allowance is in the 5-figure range. Plus, I think hot pot is the true sign of sincerity. The steaming hot pot with its delicious broth helps you forget all grudges. Isn't it the perfect way to make peace?" Qin Wu Shuang was completely taken aback by the cultural shock. She turned to look at Chen Yuan, as if searching for someone to share in her surprise. Chen Yuan just smiled but didn't say anything. "I buy at least 30 outfits a month, not to mention shoes, bags, jewelry, cosmetics, and all the little extras. In total, I spend at least $1 million every month. And yet, a young lady from a prestigious family only has a few tens of thousands of dollars for pocket money. Doesn't Mr. Y seem a bit too strict with his granddaughter?" Seeing that the two were still shy, Wai Xiling eagerly stood up and called for the waiter. "Waiter, I'd like to place an order." The hot pot dinner, which was supposed to be a fun outing, ended up lasting 2 whole hours. At first, Wai Xiling was still in a good mood, thinking that with just a little pocket change, she could treat Chen Yuan to a satisfying hot pot without wasting anything. But she forgot one important thing. Chen Yuan was no ordinary person. a person with strength and agility 17 times greater than that of an average person. So naturally, the amount of food she could eat was far from small. As a result, Chen Yuan devoured an entire stack of plates and bowls in one go, leaving everyone at the table speechless, while Wai Xiaoling was so shocked that she nearly lost her mind. Oh my god, when did this person become so bottomless? Today, she's eating like she hasn't been fed in days. Is she planning to eat the whole hot pot? How can she eat like this and not gain weight? It's so unfair. Meanwhile, Chen Yuan calmly picked up a piece of beef and popped it into her mouth, chewing slowly with a slightly sympathetic expression. Hey little sis, if you're going to Treepy, you should have prepared yourself. Haven't you heard the saying, the poor study hard and the rich eat well? Let me show you what eating like a rich person really looks like. Looks like someone's about to go broke today. But before she could fully process the shock, Wai Xiaoling suddenly remembered something even more important. She put down her chopsticks and looked at Chen Yuan seriously. Mr. Chen Yuan, I have a question. How did you know my grandfather was poisoned and not just suffering from windstroke? Chen Yuan gave a faint smile, his eyes flashing with a sharp glint, as if he had been waiting for this question all along. It's simple. If it were windstroke, the symptoms would be very different. First, windstroke usually causes a drooping mouth and a stiff tongue, but your grandfather had none of that. Second, if it were windstroke, the person would gradually improve after being kept warm and having acupressure applied. But what happened with your grandfather? His condition didn't get better, it only worsened. That's the key point. Just as Chen Yuan was about to explain further, something unexpected happened. Wai Xiaoling suddenly doubled over, her face pale, and let out a painful cry. Ah, it hurts so much. Qin Wushuang panicked and quickly asked, Xiaoling, is it the hot pot? Did you get a stomach ache after eating? At that moment, Wai Xiaoling's face turned an even paler shade and cold sweat drenched her body. It hurts so much, I can't bear it. Chen Yuan suddenly furrowed her brow, her expression darkening. It wasn't the food. It was because she had been poisoned. Qin Wushuang froze. What? Poisoned? Chen Yuan quickly pulled out her phone to call for an ambulance and explained. It's a slow-acting poison from Shi Yun. It's been in her system for several days now, and it's spreading throughout her body. If we don't remove it immediately, it'd be life-threatening. So while the meal had been enjoyable, the return journey was filled with panic. About 10 minutes later, Mr. Y, upon hearing that his beloved niece was in trouble, wasted no time and rushed straight to the hospital. And with just one call from Mr. Y, the top medical experts in the entire Manhua city were summoned urgently. But the strange thing was, after scanning her with a CT, no foreign object was found. The specialists who had just emerged shook their heads, their voices full of helplessness. Based on our diagnosis, your niece is highly likely to be suffering from acute kidney failure. We recommend that she undergoes a kidney transplant immediately. The moment those words were spoken, Mr. Wei was shaken to the core, almost fainting. What? How can it be so serious? Before he could fully process this, the expert delivered even worse news. There's another issue. Her blood type is R negative, also known as panda blood. People with this blood type are extremely rare, 1 in 10,000 if you're lucky, and they have to be willing to donate a kidney. It's harder than reaching for the stars, and even if we do find a match, the surgery isn't guaranteed to succeed. Mr. Y, you should brace yourself. These words hit Mr. Y like a sledgehammer to the heart. His mind, already stretched thin, went numb. Years ago, I had already faced the heartbreak of watching my black-haired child turn gray. I personally escorted my son to the funeral home, helpless as I said goodbye to my loved one, knowing I couldn't bring him back. Now, as I'm halfway at the grave myself, I have to face the terrifying thought of losing my only granddaughter. No way. I won't let this happen. This granddaughter is the last hope of our family, the only thing we have left in this world. That's right, Mr. Bai Chen, the name that makes the whole world tremble. If it takes begging on my knees, I'll ask Mr. Bai Chen for help. On a road near the hospital, a sleek Maserati sped by, cutting through the air like it wanted to tear the space apart. Inside the car, Qin Wushuang gripped the steering wheel tightly, his face showing clear signs of stress. Meanwhile, Chen Yuan, sitting in the passenger seat, remained completely relaxed, as though he wasn't in a rush at all. Hey, Chen Yuan, are you really just going to ignore Miss Y? She's suffering from acute kidney failure. It's really serious. The doctor said she needs a kidney transplant, but her blood type is as rare as phoenix feathers, so finding a match won't be easy. Chen Yuan stayed calm, his face unchanged by the news. I didn't say it couldn't be done. The problem is, some people act like they don't need my help. I can't force them, can I? It's tough being the good guy. If you help, no one remembers, but if you don't, you get criticized. Qin Wushuang shot him a glare, clearly frustrated. This guy was so stubborn. He probably wanted Wai Ziling and Mr. Y to apologize first before he'd agree to help. This time, Wai Ziling had done the right thing and went to apologize herself, but she was just a small fry in a powerful family, and her words carried little weight. Meanwhile, Mr. Y refused to step forward and show any sincerity. It was probably why Chen Yun was pouting, clearly dissatisfied. Thinking about this, Qin Wushuang couldn't help but shiver. She remembered how, not long ago, she had nearly lost her life from the poison needles of Shi Yun. If it hadn't been for Chen Yun stepping in to help just in time, she might have already become a picture hanging on an altar. That's why she understood better than anyone what it felt like to have death knocking at your door. And that's exactly why she felt even more anxious seeing Chen Yun remain so calm. With a long sigh, Qin Wushuang replied irritably, "Fine, I'll go talk to my grandfather. I'll have Mr. Wei come personally to apologize to our prince. Is that good enough?" Chen Yun, still as indifferent as ever, responded, "Hurry up. Wai Ziling won't last much longer. I need to prepare too. Her condition is much more complicated than yours was." Since the beginning, Chen Yun had been avoiding everything, but when it came to this, his expression turned serious. If he wasn't mistaken, the poison had spread to the internal organs, causing the kidneys to rapidly fail. This wasn't something that could be fixed just by removing the needle. Detoxing had to happen from the inside out. On top of that, this poison wasn't something cheap or common. It was likely a rare secret concoction. The problem was that from the moment the poisoning occurred to the time of death, it was only about 3 to 5 days, leaving no time to study or figure things out. Qin Wushuang was shocked to the core. Then she thought about Wai Ziling, who hadn't even had the chance to fully enjoy her beautiful years, and now she might be at risk of leaving this world too soon. A chill ran down her spine. So you're saying she doesn't have much time left? There's still so much she hasn't experienced. Are we really going to have to schedule a meeting with her ancestors so soon? Don't tell me even you can't help now? Chen Yun shook his head and opened the passenger door to step out of the car, looking a bit uncomfortable. Stop freaking out. Who said she can't be saved? It just takes some time to prepare for the detox process. Qin Wushuang felt more at ease after hearing that. Chen Yun, I'll head back first to take care of some things. While I'm at it, I'll talk to Grandpa so he can negotiate with Mr. Y. Chen Yun paused for a moment before nodding. Okay. But just then, Qin Wushuang jumped out of the driver's seat and dashed over to him like a gust of wind. Hey, wait a second, Chen Yun. Before he could react, a sweet fragrance sent him, followed by a soft touch like the flutter of a butterfly's wings on his left cheek. Before his brain could process it, a faint lipstick mark was left behind as undeniable proof. Qin Wushuang, after doing that, pretended to be shy, cupping her face with both hands like the leading lady in a cheesy romance film. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Get out of my way. With that, she swiftly jumped back into the car, the engine roared, and the car sped off, disappearing from sight. Chen Yun stood there frozen for a few seconds before sighing. Shit, kissed me and ran off. She's such a little troublemaker. But before he could even catch his breath, he suddenly felt two sharp gazes locking onto him. One was from the northeast, from the villa's balcony. Yang Weibai was watering the flowers and happened to witness the whole high-speed intimate moment. She froze, her eyes filled with confusion. Great. If this had happened at any other time, it wouldn't be a big deal. But just last night, I had a long heart-to-heart with Yang Weibai, and now I've been caught red-handed today. This is what they call karma coming back to get you. But it didn't stop there. Another pair of eyes was watching from the southeast. Yi Han, who had just moved in next door, was busy fixing up her place, even hired an interior designer. And at that very moment, she turned and caught the entire passionate scene. Chen Yun, with his sharp ears and eyes, felt his scalp tingle from seeing it. How could this be so perfectly timed? I feel like I'm the main character in a soap opera. Just one crisis after another. Calm down, I need to stay calm. As long as I don't panic, I can still fix this. So Chen Yun pretended not to notice Yang Weibai and Yi Han. On the other side, on the balcony, Yang Weibai stood frozen, her mind racing faster than an F1 car. Wait a minute, did he go on a date with Miss Qin today? Miss Qin comes from an incredibly wealthy family. She's stunningly beautiful, and her figure is top-notch. What do I have that's better than her? When I think about it, I don't really have any clear advantages. Thinking this, Yang Weibai felt a little pain in her heart, but quickly snapped herself out of it. What's wrong with me? She thought. Based on the experience from reading countless romance novels, when girls are caught up in their emotions, they often do something stupid and irreversible, putting themselves in a difficult spot. But I can't let myself follow the same path as those characters in the books. I need to think carefully and look beyond my feelings to see the situation for what it truly is. If we're just talking about appearances, this would definitely seem like the behavior of a scumbag. In the usual storyline, I would immediately rush over to confront him, demand an explanation, and then throw my pride aside, ending the relationship in tears, cutting off all ties. But wait, what am I talking about? What ending and breaking up? Chen Yuan has never claimed that he's my boyfriend. He's never said we were in a formal relationship. In fact, last night, I was the one who made the first move and approached him. After a moment of staring blankly like a goldfish, Yang Weibai finally calmed down and began to reflect on life. Okay, stay calm. I never even thought about confronting Chen Yuan. He's finally started to treat me a little more gently. If I blow up over this now, it'll just push him further away, and that's not what I want. Besides, just because Qin Wushuang was the one who kissed Chen Yuan doesn't mean he feels the same way about her. She kissed him and then ran off. Clearly, the relationship isn't anything to worry about just yet. If you want to wear the crown, you have to bear its weight. If I want to keep this man, I have to be strong enough. If I don't have the skill and wisdom, I'll be out of the game sooner or later. If even Qin Wushuang can't handle this, how am I supposed to fight for him in the future? On another front, he hand-sought everything, but his mindset remained as steady as a rock. I know everything about Qin Wushuang liking Shen Yuan as clear as the palm of my hand. Not to mention, last time, Shen Yuan even helped Qin Wushuang remove the poison needle and even undressed right there on the spot. It was just a quick brush of lips. What's the big deal? Thinking about this, Yihan furrowed his brow, and suddenly an earth-shattering thought crossed his mind. Wait a minute, there's something very important I haven't considered. Chen Yuan is an immoral cultivator. He might not just be in his 20s, he could have lived for over 100 years. He could even be from the Republic of China era, or maybe even from the Qing dynasty. Maybe he still holds the old ideas of having multiple wives and concubines. Women are born afraid of aging. The more beautiful they are, the more they fear getting old, unless they can cultivate immortality, which is the only way to fight against the natural laws. If being around Chen Yuan could help me stay young longer and live a longer life, then this wouldn't just be about love, it would be an amazing investment. The next morning at the Hongqiao train station, a line of supercars appeared, making people dizzy just by looking at them. In total, more than 100 Rolls-Royces, over 2 Bentleys, and 300 Maybachs made up a powerful fleet of 600 supercars that completely blocked the exit of the train station. At exactly 10 o'clock, amidst the bustling crowd, a deep green train slowly pulled into the station. The train doors opened and a man stepped out, immediately catching everyone's eye. He was wearing a long black robe, holding an old worn suitcase that looked like it came straight out of a historical drama. His tall frame, nearly 6.5 feet, and his sharp features gave him an air of someone extraordinary, someone clearly not ordinary. Well, it's been decades since I left the mountain, but I never imagined mod duo would change so fast. The younger generation really has guts these days. Of course, someone with such striking looks and presence couldn't possibly go unnoticed in a public place. In just a few seconds, countless young women found their eyes locked on him, like magnets drawn to a rare gem. A group of schoolgirls whispered excitedly among themselves, "Oh, this guy is so handsome. He looks a little older, but in a charming way. Wow, your taste is kind of intense, huh? You're only 20, but he looks even older than my dad. But he's so handsome, don't you think? Isn't it true?" As everyone held their breath, waiting in anticipation, a figure in a black robe finally appeared and walked forward. He moved with steady confidence, exuding an air of dignity, his presence almost otherworldly, like a divine being descending to earth. It was clear at first glance that he was no ordinary person. The crowd of wealthy elites scrambled toward him, their faces lit up with excitement, as if they were witnessing the arrival of fortune itself. Some of the prominent figures even bowed deeply in respect, their gestures formal and grand, as if they were honoring an emperor leaving his palace. "Welcome, Mr. Bai Chen! Welcome, Mr. Bai Chen!" At this moment, Mr. Bai Chen stood still, quietly observing the bowed heads in front of him. His expression remained calm and unaffected, showing that he was clearly accustomed to such grand scenes. He casually lifted his suitcase and walked forward with an easy, composed demeanor. His commanding presence caused the entire bus station to hold its breath. After 20 years without stepping down the mountain, I'm surprised so many people still remember me. All right, no need to be so formal. Mr. Qin bowed his head and clasped his hands, his eyes full of reverence. "Senpai, it's been a long time. You still have that incredible charm." Qin Tianfang respectfully greeted his teacher. Bai Chen paused for a moment, then patted Mr. Qin on the shoulder, sounding a little surprised. "Oh, you're Xiao Qin? It's been so many years, I can't believe this little kid has grown into such a strong man." At this, all 500 of the bodyguards turned to look at Mr. Qin, their mouths twitching. This man was at least 70 or 80 years old with gray hair, wrinkled skin, and a whole bunch of grandchildren, yet he was still being called Xiao Qin. Was this some kind of leg insult? But thinking about it, it made sense. In front of Bai Chen, everyone, no matter who they were, would seem small and childlike. Although Mr. Qin felt a bit embarrassed inside, he realized that probably only Bai Chen would dare call him that, so he maintained a respectful expression. You're joking, sir. 60 years have passed in the blink of an eye. I was once a passionate young man, and now I'm just an old man. At this moment, Mr. Bai Chen got straight to the point, his voice lowered, carrying a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Xiao Qin, do you have any news about Shi Yun? He was supposed to come to Manhua to meet you and collect the 1,000-year-old ginseng you wanted to give me. But it's been several days, and there's been no word from him. No news at all. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere around them grew tense, like an invisible chill had swept through the room. Qin Tianfang felt a bit embarrassed. His chest tightened for a moment, but he kept his smile and tried to respond as calmly as he could. Please forgive me, sir, but I don't know where Shi Yun is either. He attended my birthday party the other day, and after that, I don't know where he went. I assumed he had already gone back. Of course, Mr. Qin was not foolish enough to reveal the matter of the poison. Accusing Bai Chen's disciple in front of so many people would be like slapping the man in the face. After hearing this, Mr. Bai Chen immediately furrowed his brows, a flicker of unease flashing in his eyes. Something's not right. My intuition has never failed me, and this time, it's sounding alarm bells. A thin wave of cold air spread through the room, causing those nearby to shiver involuntarily, their spines going cold as if someone had just thrown a bucket of ice water over them. Before Bai Chen could think any deeper, a group of prominent family heads and influential figures rushed in, crowding together. Each of them looked excited, but the stories they shared were far from joyful. Everyone had a sad tale to tell about a relative's illness, followed by a request that was all too familiar. Save them. When it was Wai Xiang's turn to speak, his voice trembled with urgency, as though he was about to cry. Mr. Bai Chen, my granddaughter, Wai Xiaoling, suddenly fell seriously ill yesterday. Her condition is critical, and I humbly ask for your help. As her grandfather, I would be eternally grateful for your kindness. After he spoke, Mr. Wai's heart burned with anxiety. His granddaughter was lying in a hospital bed, fighting for her life, and here Bai Chen was projecting his plea without hesitation. It felt like a bucket of cold water had been dumped over him in the middle of winter. Mr. Wai was a good man, but unfortunately, Bai Chen had to disappoint him. There was no change in his expression. He calmly responded, his voice cold as ice. What does your granddaughter's illness have to do with me? My disciple is missing, and I still haven't found them. Do you think I have the time to deal with your problems? There are countless sick people in this world. Should they all come to me for help? Do you think I have nothing else to do? Seeing Mr. Wei still acting shamelessly, Mr. Bai Chen let out a cold snort, his voice full of irritation. Get lost. I'm not in the mood to listen to your whining. The words hit like a hammer, leaving Mr. Wei frozen in place, his face turning pale. A lifetime of power and respect, he had been admired wherever he went, but today he was dismissed so harshly with nothing left to say. However, Mr. Wei didn't dare argue back. Bai Chen had always been domineering, doing things his own way. He didn't care how powerful or rich someone was. If you wanted something from him, you had asked at the right time, and unfortunately, Mr. Wei had picked the wrong moment. Mr. Qin stood between them, his face twisted in frustration, clearly caught in a difficult spot. I never expected Mr. Bai Chen to suddenly get so upset like this. Just yesterday, Wu Shuang was so sure that Shen Yuan had a way to save Wai Xiaoling. But, to be fair, Shen Yuan was just a young man with some medical knowledge. How could he compare to the legendary medicine king of the martial world? That man was the #1 expert, the first divine doctor, and when Bai Chen took action, it was the surest guarantee. Who would have thought that as soon as he opened his mouth to beg, Mr. Bai Chen not only flat out rejected him, but also gave Mr. Wei a harsh scolding in public right in broad daylight. Mr. Wei, on the other hand, fell into despair. Without a second thought, he dropped to his knees in front of Mr. Bai Chen, his voice pleading desperately. Sir, my granddaughter is in critical condition. She's not even 18 years old. She has her whole life ahead of her. Please, I beg you, help her. She can't wait any longer. Sir, if you agree to help, I will give you my entire life savings. I don't care if I lose everything. I just want you to save her. At this point, Mr. Wei had nothing left to lose. To him, face no longer mattered. Even if the world mocked him, even if he lost all his honor, he would do anything to save Xiaoling. Some of the other family heads who had secretly taken pleasure in watching Mr. Wei get scolded by Mr. Bai Chen earlier now couldn't laugh anymore. It was true what they said. Having money and power doesn't mean you're cold-hearted. When it comes to the life of a loved one, everyone eventually lowers their head. Qin Ti and Fang stood there, his face twitching, his mind racing like 1,000 wild donkeys. He had been watching Mr. Bai Chen's cold demeanor and hadn't dared to say a word. But seeing Mr. Wei kneeling and crying like a character from a long, tragic TV drama, he just couldn't stand by any longer. Taking a deep breath, Mr. Qin gathered all of his courage and spoke up, his voice full of conviction. Sir, saving a life is worth more than building 7 great towers. Mr. Wei here is truly desperate. His granddaughter's condition is critical. The little girl had once been lively and sweet, but suddenly she came down with a rare illness that led to kidney failure. Now all the major hospitals had given up, and the doctors were at a loss. Even trying to transplant a kidney was impossible because the girl had a rare blood type known as panda blood. As he spoke, the atmosphere grew heavier than ever. Mr. Wei clenched his fists, his heart pounding as he waited for Mr. Bai Chen's response. Everyone held their breath, afraid that Mr. Bai Chen might casually say something dismissive. If that happened, they feared Mr. Wei might collapse right there on the spot. But surprisingly, as soon as Bai Chen heard about Wei Ziling's condition, his expression suddenly changed. The cold, stone-like look on his face seemed to freeze for a moment, and his eyes flickered with a flash of thought. Acute kidney failure, and right after meeting Xia Yun. Damn it, this reckless fool, what kind of business does he run like someone who finishes using the bathroom and doesn't even bother wiping? Having already made up his mind, Bai Chen's tone shifted. He dropped a quick, powerful command that hit like thunder. Take him to the hospital. The crowd around them buzzed in confusion. No one expected Mr. Bai to change his mind so suddenly, so even blamed themselves for not doing something similar to what Mr. Wei had done, thinking maybe Mr. Wei had moved Bai Chen with his sincerity. But no matter the reason, the most important thing was that Mr. Bai had decided to act. At that moment, Mr. Wei was overjoyed. His wrinkled, aged face seemed to instantly gain a youthful glow, and he stammered in gratitude. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. In his heart, he silently thanked the heavens. He never imagined there would be a day when he'd have to kneel and beg someone. But if this was the price for saving his granddaughter, he would kneel 1,000 times if he had to. In just a moment, a massive crowd of people flooded into the manhua hospital, causing chaos in the entire internal medicine department. Everyone was pushing and shoving, all eager to witness firsthand how Mr. Bai Chen would save the person. In reality, most of them were just curious onlookers, as it was rare to see the legendary medicine king in action. Upon entering the patient's room, Mr. Bai Chen didn't immediately take action. Instead, he sat and observed Wei Ziling for a long while before finally taking her pulse to make a diagnosis. Nothing happens before you take the pulse, but once you do, it's a shock. This child has been struck by an acupuncture needle, a secret weapon of the medicine king. The person hit by this weapon is unaware of it. If no one notices and removes it within 7 days, the person will definitely die. However, what made Mr. Bai Chen frown even more was that in this world, besides him, only one other person knew how to use martial arts, Shi Yun. Mentioning his disciple brought a mix of emotions to Mr. Bai Chen's heart. He glanced again at the girl lying in bed, with fair skin and closed eyes, but still looking so sweet. He let out a soft grunt and clicked his tongue. That Dan Shi Yun, although he could be a bit playful and loves causing mischief, he's not the type to harm someone for no reason. If I'm not mistaken, he must have fallen for this girl, which is why he resorted to this childish trick. Thinking of this, Bai Chen couldn't help but laugh, feeling a bit nostalgic. Back then, I also used this tactic. The so-called hero saving the damsel in distress works like this. First, you make the other person fall into danger and then appear at just the right moment to save them. You save a life, and of course, they'll be grateful. They might even develop feelings, becoming completely smitten and willing to do anything in return. But the more he thought about it, the smile faded from Bai Chen's face. His eyes narrowed and his thoughts grew deeper. If everything had gone according to plan, Xia Yun should have shown up by now. They would play the role of the mysterious savior, stepping in at the last moment to cure the illness and make everyone admire it. So why hasn't it shown up yet? Does it even know that if the needle stays in the body for more than 6 days, the antidote might not work? As soon as this thought flashed through his mind, Bai Chen immediately sensed something was wrong. Something's not right. Xia Yun received a third of my true teachings. It shouldn't be acting without restraint, unless Xia Yun's encountered a problem. While Bai Chen was still deep in thought, Mr. Wei, who had been nervously waiting, could no longer hold back and spoke up. Mr. Bai Chen, my granddaughter, do you have any way to help her? Bai Chen raised an eyebrow and responded indifferently. I never said I would help her. Mr. Wei was taken aback, nearly stumbling in shock. But didn't you? He started trailing off. Bai Chen casually interrupted and turned to leave. I came to the hospital to confirm something, not to treat anyone. Now that I've confirmed what I needed, let me ask you this. Have you seen my disciple, Xia Yun? Mr. Y was left speechless, unsure of how to answer. Sir, I'm not sure, but I can immediately order the Y family to search for him. If necessary, I can even post a public search on all the news outlets. With how advanced information is these days, there's no way someone could disappear without a trace. But please, sir, focus on saving my granddaughter first. Mr. Y was so desperate that he was on the verge of tears, but Bai Chen still walked away, showing no sign of being moved or swayed by his plea. Then, Bai Chen glanced at the crowd surrounding him and asked, "When was the last time you saw him?" Just as the atmosphere became awkward, a voice spoke up. "Mr. Bai Chen, as far as I know, the last time Mr. Shi Yun was seen was at Mr. Qin's birthday party. But that party, it didn't go very well. It turned out to be Du Tianwen, the big boss of the Du Group in Hong Kong. He saw an opportunity and eagerly stepped in, eager to stir the pot. The trouble started when Mr. White collapsed at the party from a sudden illness. Thankfully, Mr. Shi Yun stepped in to help, saving him from death's door. But when Mr. Y regained consciousness, instead of showing any gratitude, he sided with Lin Yongwon, accusing Xia Yun of poisoning him. As if that wasn't enough, right in the middle of the banquet, Lin Yongwon arrogantly slapped Xia Yun across the face in front of everyone. People were stunned. No one expected something like that to happen. Humiliated in front of so many people, Mr. Shi Yun didn't say a word. He simply folded his hands and walked away. Since then, no one has seen him again. As soon as Du Tianwen finished speaking, the temperature in the hospital room dropped sharply, and the air felt as heavy as lead. Bai Chen's face darkened as a cold, murderous aura swept through the room, so intense that anyone standing nearby could feel their spine freeze. Who is Lin Yongwon? How dare he humiliate my disciple? Du Tianwen wasted no time and quickly continued. Lin Yongwon is said to be a major tycoon with a mysterious background. His influence is like a black hole, and anyone who crosses him just disappears. On the internet, people call him the nation's heartthrob, and everyone flocks to admire him like bees to honey. He's so powerful that he wiped out the Lai family, one of the 4 major families, in just one day because they accidentally offended him. A business empire built over decades vanished in an instant, and they didn't even have time to react. He's the kind of person who does whatever he wants without caring about anyone else. At Chen's party, Xia Yun only accidentally stepped on his toes a little, but he still gave her a brutal warning. Now, Xia Yun is missing, and no one dares to say it's not connected to him. Here he reasoned why his disciple was horribly humiliated just for accidentally overshadowing Lin Yongwon's aura. Bai Chen's face turned 3 different colors, red, blue, and then purple, in pure anger. The Y family is really quick to turn their backs. My disciple saves someone and doesn't even get a thank you, but ends up humiliated. And now you have the nerve to ask me to save your granddaughter? Have you even looked in the mirror? Well done, Lim Yong-won. I won't forget this. Who is he? No matter how powerful or influential someone is, they have to pay the price. Once you cross my line, there's no way things will just go back to normal. Mr. Y shuddered, his entire body trembling as if the sky was collapsing in front of him. Any hope of saving his granddaughter had just been crushed. And to make matters worse, the situation was about to take an unexpected turn no one could have predicted. Understanding the nature of his disciple, who repays any grudge, Bai Chen frowned and asked, "Let me ask you, after this incident, did anything happen to Chen Yuan?" Hu Tianwen didn't hesitate and immediately began explaining. "Sir, yes, something did happen. Right after the birthday celebration for Elder Tan at the Royal Hotel the very next day, a horrifying attack broke out. Lin Yongwon really knows how to stir up trouble. He not only made enemies here at home, but also clashed with some mysterious organizations from abroad, which led to him being hunted down. And Lim Yongwon truly is one tough guy. People would be terrified if they were chased with knives or guns, but he was shot at with over a dozen rocket-propelled grenades and still didn't die. Up to this point, no one can explain this unbelievable phenomenon. If you don't believe me, I have the video proof right here. Mr. Bai Chen, please take a look." As the video played, the entire room seemed to lose all its air. Bai Chen felt a heavy weight on his chest as if something was pressing down on him. His instincts told him something that something wasn't right. He quickly scrolled through his phone, immediately checking the video of Lim Yongwon being attacked. Others might not understand why Lim Yongwon appeared unscathed, confidently walking in public just hours later, not even a hair out of place. But Bai Chen, the king of medicine, instantly understood and pieced everything together. A bold theory popped into his head, one that most people wouldn't know. When it comes to disguise techniques, the Valley King of Medicine is truly a master. He was sure that his disciple had used a disguise technique to take on the appearance of the other person to deliver a punishment. But what he didn't expect was that the enemy was too clever, seeing through the plan and then turning the tables by shifting all the blame onto someone else, forcing them to take the entire hit instead of him. Had Shi Yun fallen already? The moment Bai Chen realized how serious the situation was, he couldn't stay calm for another second. His body seemed to erupt in a fiery rage, and his presence felt like a storm sweeping through. Anyone nearby felt a chill, their skin crawling with fear. In the midst of his fury, Bai Chen, the king of medicine, roared. Chen Yuan, are you trying to get yourself killed? As he finished speaking, flames of anger blazed in his eyes and a murderous aura radiated from him. He grabbed Du Tianwen by the neck, squeezing as if he were crushing a fruit. Just like that, the billionaire CEO who had been alive just moments ago was now gone, heading straight to meet his ancestors without even having time to write a will. The whole room fell silent and no one dared to breathe too loudly. Until now, they had only seen Bai Chen, the king of medicine, as a legendary healer, a savior of the world, holding precious medicine in one hand and a staff of virtue in the other. Some had even planned to use the king of medicine to deal with their rivals, but no one could have imagined that this legendary figure, not only skilled in curing ailments, could also change someone's fate in an instant. No one dared to speak or move. The tension in the air was so thick it felt like you could cut it with a knife. In that moment, Bai Chen, the king of medicine, seemed like a dark deity who had descended to earth, radiating a heavy, murderous aura. How fools did you really think you could use me? You set up such a scheme and still thought you could outsmart me. You're deaf to danger. And as for Lim Yong Wang, you will pay a price so horrifying that no one would dare imagine. At that moment, Chen Yuan was relaxing, enjoying a rare, peaceful moment in his otherwise tumultuous life. But luck wasn't on his side when it came to peace. Just as he was zoning out, letting his mind wander, his phone suddenly rang loudly. He glanced at it and saw it was Qin Wushuan calling. Chen Yuan answered the phone. It's bad. Disaster is coming. Chen Yuan frowned, still trying to process the information. Huh? Don't tell me Wise Dialing can't take it anymore. All right, I'll head to the hospital right away. Upon hearing that Chen Yuan was heading to the hospital, Qin Wushuan clearly panicked, her voice full of worry. It's not about that. You absolutely cannot go near the hospital. Mr. Bai Chen has already gone to Ma Duo. The problem is he was pushed by someone else. Now, he's declaring he wants to kill you. What? Before Chen Yuan could fully process that, Qin Wushuan continued. I thought Bai Chen was some kind of exceptional master, but turns out he's just a mad old man. He lost it and stormed into the hospital. Right in front of everyone, he choked the Hong Kong mob boss, Mr. Du, to death. You need to be careful. He's after you this time. I even heard my grandfather say that after 60 years, Mr. Bai Chen hasn't aged a bit. He still looks exactly the same as when he first appeared. Not a single gray hair in sight. But despite the gravity of the situation, Chen Yuan didn't seem alarmed at all. All right, I understand. After thinking for a moment, Chen Yuan wasn't too worried, but he was cursing under his breath. Looks like Bai Chen finally found out that his disciple is dead. He must have learned about the cause, the process, and the outcome. And now he's all worked up, wanting to go kill someone. Does he have a screw loose for something? What does it have to do with me that Shy Yun got blown to pieces by the agents? Why is he coming all the way over here looking for me instead of going across the ocean to take revenge? Or maybe he just likes picking on people who are easy to bully? If Bai Chen has Shi Yun as his disciple, doesn't that mean I, Chen Yuan, famous worldwide under the name Lim Yum Wang, don't have a master? If people can disguise themselves, why couldn't I?